Shabbat Shalom. This week I want to focus on a verse found towards the end of our Parsha. Hidden at the very end of Shoftim, we read, "When you wage a war against a city, you must not destroy its trees." This verse calls out to us, I think especially this year. With the rise of COVID-19, I think many of us have forgotten the fires that raged across Australia with unexpected ferocity. These scientists have suggested were exacerbated by human neglect of the environment, especially our disregard for global warming. Yet this week, our Torah reminds us that even in times of war, wanton destruction of our enemies' trees is not permitted. While such destruction was normal in the ancient world, our Torah reminds us that trees, and indeed all of nature, were created by God and require our protection and care. This care stems from the very first verses of our Torah. In Genesis, we're taught that creation was not a haphazard event, but instead was carefully planned. Every step led to the next, and indeed was necessary for the next. Everything is prepared, and everything is ready. While our ancestors may not have used the modern language of environmentalism and ecology, as the plan was fulfilled, there was a clear understanding that the cycle of dependencies was necessary and complete. Well, this plan also makes it clear that humanity is the culmination of creation. This does not deny the importance, and indeed the ultimate essential unity of the entirety. Indeed, the rabbis remind us to be humble as the cockroach was created before we were. Humanity is indeed given dominion over creation, and all the animals and plants are food. We alone are blessed, and humanity, however, is created also in the image of the divine, and therefore it's vested with responsibility to act with the same care and sense of obligation as God did when the earth was created. Our rabbis explicitly understood the responsibility to care for the earth and the repercussions if we fail in that responsibility. An ancient midrash teaches, when the Blessed Holy One created the first humans, God took them and led them around the trees of the garden, and he said to them, "Look at all my works, how beautiful and praiseworthy they are. And all that I have created, it was for you that I created it. Yet, pay attention that you do not corrupt and destroy my world. For if you corrupt it, there will be no one to repair it after you." This midrash stresses God's concern for all aspects of creation, reminding our primordial ancestors, and indeed all of us, that it's far easier to destroy than to create. It is also a graphic reminder that God will not be there if we destroy our environment to pick up the pieces. This is true, our Torah reminds us, even in the midst of war. Currently, we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction of species. The first 5 were natural. The 6th was largely caused and is still being caused by human activity. While the early spread of humanity led to the destruction of the Pleistocene megafauna, this destruction of species has continued over time at a relatively slow pace. Yet, in the last 100 years, it has increased to from 100 to 1,000 times the natural rate. Through overhunting, deforestation, especially the destruction of the rainforests, environmental degradation, and global warming. We, who are tasked with caring for the world and its creatures, instead seem bent on its destruction. Yet, as the Midrash noted, while it's quite easy to destroy God's creation, when a species becomes extinct, there will be no one to repair it after us. To me, the greatest idolatry of humanity is our propensity to see ourselves separate from the rest of creation, and indeed as absolute masters of the world, utilizing our short-term political necessities and economic benefits or costs as rationalizations not to take action. Yet the selfsame threats, which are quickly destroying the animal kingdom, threaten our future as well. Sadly, even thoughts that our descendants will suffer and vanish due to our decisions does little to motivate action and a sense of responsibility. 2,000 years ago in a midrash, our rabbis addressed even this issue. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught in a parable. Men were on a ship. Then one of them took out a drill and started drilling underneath his place. The others said to him, "What are you doing?" He replied, "What do you care? Is this not underneath my area of the boat that I am drilling?" But they said to him, "But the water will rise and flood all of us on the ship." When we fail to take up the obligation of repair and instead continue to destroy the earth and forget that we are not alone, then all will suffer, not only those who actively destroy. Shabbat Shalom.